Good morning, friends. Thanks for bearing with me as I do a little extended noodles this morning. As you probably know, just returned this week from the Great Flatoberfest, South Carolina. It was an amazing time. Had with a bunch of friends, new friends and old, and got to hang out with, a lot of people here in chat. Sue Finelli, Janet, a whole bunch of folks. Doc Michael, sorry you didn't make it, but next time for sure, right? So, welcome to everyone, and I'm super glad that you are here. This will be, I always say they're weird, and then people go, no, it's not weird at all. I guess you guys are as weird as me. But I'll have to, go through, do a little disclosure at the outset, and disclaimers and all that stuff. So it is the 31st of October. You all know what that means, but it's a weird time for all of us, I think. We've got some strange stuff happening in the Schumann residence. We've got full moon. We've got daylight saving time in the United States that ends tonight. We've got, Samael. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on. So it is a confluence of a whole bunch of things happening. So here we are. Welcome to those of you who made it this morning. And again, this coming back live after, after a week off. And so here we go with a little bit of the transparency thing. So those of you who have been here for a while, this is not going to come as news to you. But I often struggle, or at least intend to keep some things a little bit separate, just because there are those who, are less comfortable with some things than others. And so, again, it is never my intention to push my, thoughts or beliefs on anybody. Certainly, I share what I see and encourage others to find their own way. And to that extent, again, it's never my intention to convince or convert or anything, but I do have specifically a direct personal relationship with our Creator, and who I see as what he describes as his only begotten Son, the first fruit of all creation. To me, the understanding that in a sense of extreme loneliness and the desire to have relationship. Initially, the Creator divided himself into two portions, not necessarily positive and negative, but a polarity, not a duality, but a polarity of like truth and power versus love and compassion. And so these things, again, to sort of learn and understand, and ultimately became so lonely over unimaginable eons of time that at the risk of its own existence, pulled a portion of itself out to create a new life. And then that gave it understanding of how to make life, but that is who we would understand as the person of Jesus. And then ultimately, when there was there was harmony within the ranks, and one of the highest of all creations. Don't be sorry for your tardiness. Just all you missed really was the noodling and the setup. So here we are. I'm glad that we are all together. Anyway, in creating the first fruit of all creation, the only begotten Son of the person of Jesus, then things went awry with one of the highest of all created beings, who you probably know as Lucifer, many different names that have come thereafter, who felt himself equal to. He was also a created being and the highest of the design. And so when the decision was made to create a mini-me, a version of the Creator, to reign over and have authority over a mini-me universe under the dome, that made him very jealous, and decided that he did not want anything to do with that, and would not give any sort of offering of recognition. And that therein created part of the problem. And the world that we find ourselves in at this point is that being hates the Creator so much that he wants to hurt him And by doing that, it's sort of like a jilted lover. So to create the most possible pain, he wants to harm his children. That would be you and I. So, again, it is through this lens that I kind of view these things. It is not a belief system. It's not a religion. I don't like religion very much because that's not only a control system, but I think it also, again, discourages the personal relationship in favor of some written rules. And if you follow the rules, and you're in good standing, and it just doesn't work that way. It is all about the relationship. So, I mean, imagine that you had a child and you said these things are necessary, right, for you to get your inheritance or whatever, and they ignore you and deny you, but just do everything they can to sort of kind of try to keep that rules with whatever loopholes they can find. It's not, it would hurt you, and it's not about, right, it's all about the relationship, not the keeping of the rules. So I have to be honest and transparent and say it is through this lens that I observe things, and that's the best way that I can explain some of these ideas. And it is the reason I chose this title and this topic is after some consideration, trying to unpack the experience that I had at Flattoberfest. And again, huge shout out to Karen B. and Ted Summer and those who made that possible. And to everyone who went and shared of themselves. Again, it was beyond description, really. I mean, intellectually, I understood that it was going to be, a congregation of like-minded folks, and that you would have this beautiful harmonization of all the vibes, if you will, what we say the frequency and vibration, that they would be in tune. And so intellectually, I understood it occurred, and from the description of others, I anticipated that. What is difficult to describe is the actually what happens inside you when that occurs. It was changing, right? It's not just cathartic, but it led me in so many different directions. And one of the things that occurred, and again, part of the reason for the longer noodles this morning, had to do with the fact that I did some live noodling there. If you want to see that, you can go to Ted Summers' channel. And there's about 11 minutes of it. I think I played for about 20 minutes. And I wasn't quite sure how it would turn out because I had the second and stronger of a green buttered coffee. So that certainly kind of put me in a different thought process. And so I wasn't 100% sure. Well, I was very uncertain of how it might turn out. And so, but in listening back to it, I found a couple of things that I kind of liked, and I didn't really repeat that this morning. That wasn't the point. But what did happen is I listened to it enough that it kind of gave me some inspiration to do more of it. And what I really enjoy doing is to follow the music wherever it goes. And so it just leads me wherever it wants. And so what you hear when I noodle is it's not anything pre-planned. I really don't even know what I'm going to do when I start. Some of the changes may be somewhat familiar to me. I kind of know this and that, but most of it's all about just following it where it goes. And so that is, thanks, Doc Michael. And I think, again, you're right on target with what the conversation I want to have today is about humility versus humiliation, and the idea of power over versus power under. And that is, I think, poorly understood by especially those who either focus on a religion or anti-religion, that they're trying the best they can to sort of run away from this, and that they consider themselves God. So the self-apotheosis that is present in nearly all other spiritual concepts really has a great deal to do, that if you meditate enough, if you do enough, have enough gnosis or understanding, if you do certain things, then you are ultimately going to be able to achieve a sort of godhood on your own, and you will get what they call Christ consciousness, right? But still using the term Christ, which really just means anointed, right? So special and set apart. So I reject those ideas because I have never seen anyone who has become, reached that apotheosis. In fact, those typically who claim to are usually, frankly, assholes. They're deceived, and they're deceiving others. And they expect approbation. They want your praise and your honor, and, if you will, your worship. We talked about previously what is worship, right? Those things that take your attention, and they where you give your attention and your mind to, those things are worship. And so where do you put that? And so here we are, and so I see. So I'm going to be, as always, I try to be very cautious about certain things, because if I speak of certain behaviors, it's probably it's because I've seen them. But it's not about a person, right? And this is something that I have had some challenges with in dealing with people in like personal relationships, right? When sometimes people, and I know you've had this experience, when people around you that you're in a relationship with, whether that's a romantic relationship or a family relationship, a work or a friend relationship, but they behave in a way that is unacceptable. And for a variety of reasons. Now, again, typically people do things, really, they're driven out of fear. And so it is this fear that drives them to behave poorly. And so if you point out this, and it's bumping into your, if you have good boundaries, and you say, hey, you're approaching and encroaching upon those boundaries, and that's not acceptable. So typically the pushback there is that, oh, you think I'm a bad person. It's like, it's not about judging you, in total as a person. It's not about that. It's simply calling out those behaviors as inappropriate. And so the same occurs when, if I see behaviors that I think, to me, appear to be contrary to the proper way to approach things. I am not calling a person out. I'm not saying this person, that person is bad. It's not even really, again, about a person. It's about certain behaviors. And lots of us, even me, sometimes fall into certain behaviors. So it's about these behaviors. And so if please let go of any idea that I'm taking a swipe at anybody personally. That's just not how I am. I have no intention for that. And I have no negative feelings toward people. There are ideas that I disagree with. And I think that there are certain things that are not helpful to promote and advocate, because it leads people down a wrong path. But it's not my place to tell other people where they can go or what they should follow. It's just not how I am. And again, I have no authority to tell anybody what they should or should not do. But again, if I care for people, it would be, I think, wrong of me to not warn others of certain things. And so it is in that spirit that I want to just point out some of these things and say that I saw certain behaviors, because anytime you get more than a couple of people together, there becomes it takes on a life of its own, right? And so this is where politics come into play, that people want to be in control, and certainly those who have an emptiness or a void within them, they want to fill that void, and often that is, again, they want approbation and recognition of others as being above them, right? I have achieved something that you have not, and therefore you should recognize me for that. In whatever thing, right? A variety of things. And so if we look really at the kind of the definition of power, especially in a political sense, it breaks down to basically kind of 5 types of power here. And I can, refer to these. There is one that is hilariously named because it's called legitimate power. And this is the argument that it's positional power. It's the power of an individual because the relative position and duties. It's title. You get a title. And to me, this is, while it's called legitimate power, it is the most illegitimate of power, in that it is not necessarily appropriate. I have often said that those who most desire power are the least qualified to wield it. That because they want it, that shows a conflict or a character flaw that makes them, not. That's not who you want leading you. And in fact, I have said this specifically for those, again, who seek the office of the highest offices in politics, is that the reason that they want it, right? Those who achieve that position are the reason they get there is because they're willing to do whatever it takes to get there. And that means that they're essentially psychopaths, and certainly sociopathic. They have no qualms in harming or stepping on others to get what it is they want. That's the only reason you achieve this level of power and control. And it's certainly true in almost every large organization that those who have achieved the highest ranks of power are there, not because they have earned it in a sense that those are the people you want to follow, but because they're willing to crush others to get it. And those are the people least, to me, qualified to be in such a position. So again, I find it sort of amusing that it is called legitimate power because it's given by title. And again, typically these are unearned. It's usually provided through, again, somebody taking from somebody else, or through nepotism or some other source where that is the least qualified, is that they simply hold a title. There is referent power, and it's the power or ability of individuals to attract others and build loyalty. And referent power is typically the most effective, and it is leading by example. That when someone behaves in a certain way that others find attractive, and it draws them to them, and they create an intangible sort of referent power. And this is the sort of things that we see that builds loyalty, that someone leads by example. There is expert power, and that's the individual derives power from having a skill or expertise of the person, right? We see this, for example, in professional sporting arena, where people are an expert or very skilled at a certain sport, and so as a result, they can play it professionally. They're in the spotlight, and people refer to them as some sort of idealized or idol, that they become a celebrity. So that's the expert power. But the same is true, for example, with people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? He's got his PhD, and he comes off and he tells you he's real smart, right? Again, if you have to tell somebody, you're probably not. So he tells people how smart he is and how dumb they are, and he's very smarmy, but he holds this position of power based on specifically this expertise. He's got degrees. We have reward power, and this is the power based on the ability of the person who wields it to confer valuable material resources to others. So this would be Jeff Bezos, right, or Elon Musk. Really, they derive their power not because they're so smart and so adept, but because they have money. They have material rewards that they can offer to others in such a way that it will draw people. People want that, right? So they need that reward to follow along. And so that is reward power. There is coercive power, and this is the kind of thing that you currently see with government, right? This is the power that policemen have over you. It is intimidation, and it is coercive control. It's the application of negative influence, the ability to demote or withhold. Again, the police can arrest, right, your civil rights. They stop your rights. So that is what the ultimate coercive power. And this is when you combine these types of things, for example, what's called, quote, legitimate power or title power with coercive power and reward power, right, and maybe some expert power, it becomes extremely hostile. And this is the type of power that people have over others. And so there are terms that I'm going to use today, and one is called power over, right? And this is the proclivity of someone to use a position of power, whether that is through reward because they have money, coercion because they have strength, right, or title, that's, quote, legitimate power. And again, we're just using that in the name, in name only. But when they use a combination of those things to keep other people in line, that becomes power over. Now, there's another phrase I'm going to use that you may be less familiar with, and that is power under. And what does that mean? Well, again, this is the type of power of having strength enough to hold up others, and is the type of power that serves others. And you might say that referent power is probably the closest in that list of Yeah, Doc, that's exactly the type of thing, right? This is a referent power. That is the encouragement, the lifting of others. That it is endorsed by acceptance. That someone brings something to bear that others find valuable, and they wish to be a part of that. And this is what I see, for example, in the group that's being developed online right now in the chat. Right, beautiful people all coming together. Right. And so it's not anything, I don't think it really has to do with me in terms of referent power. It's not really about power, but it's about that deep calls unto deep. And that you get spirit calls to spirit and deep unto deep. And this is the kind of thing that we see, is that those who are like-minded will be drawn together. And so when we have these kinds of like-minded individuals who are vibrating at the same resonant frequency, we are drawn together. And so I find it immensely beautiful. And this is the sort of thing that, again, primarily I saw in at the event. And I see, Cammie, that you're cooking, but Cammie is a great example of that, right? She did not present on stage. Rather, she stayed in the background with Zach, another great example of this, and demonstrating these hands-on things. And that was one of the most beautiful and well-attended stations or places there at the event, right, is this type of service. It's a power under, right? And this is the kind of thing you want, power under who can support you. It's like a bridge, right? You don't want a weak bridge. You want strength there. And so that power is support. It's the way that we support one another, rather than using power to press down upon others and demanding that other people serve you, right? So this is the difference between those who serve others and those who demand service. I often used to say that you can tell a great deal about a person by playing a round of golf with them. You can tell if they cheat. You can tell if they get angry, if they make a mistake, that they try to hide their errors, if they make excuses, if they're generous, if they buy a drink for their partner, if they demand to drive the golf cart, or mock somebody if they make a mistake. You can tell an enormous amount about somebody by playing a round of golf. If you don't play golf, and I haven't for a good deal of time since back surgery, I tried afterwards, and I just didn't have the range of motion I once did, and so it was very frustrating. But one of the things that I told my daughter when she became of age to date, two primary things. One is to ignore completely everything the individual that you had romantic interest in. Ignore everything they say and look only at what they do. I'll repeat that. Ignore everything they say and look only at what they do. That will tell you what you need to know. If they begin to make excuses for their behavior or blame others, or project or do any of these things, you can, again, immediately see the kind of character of the person that you're dealing with. But the other aspect was when you go to on a date, right, look very carefully at how they treat the waitstaff, people that are assigned to serve them. If they behave in a manner that is cruel and snotty and demands that the other people that they serve them, that's how they will be with you. At the outset, they, of course, are going to try to be charming and to get you to like them. So they'll, treat you, appropriate to that, but it will never last. And so see how they treat those who are assigned to serve them. If they treat them graciously and well, if the people make a mistake and they, oh my God, thank you, Candace, and I am too so grateful for this community and you. I have so many people to thank, and I try always to note that, and we'll do more, because again, to me, this is all about you guys. I'm here for you. But to continue the thought, right, is if they are harsh when a waiter makes a mistake or is not fast enough to their liking or gets something wrong, you can tell, right, this is the kind of person that you're dealing with. If they are, however, gracious and kind, I'd say tip well, but it's not really about the money, right? It's about the way they treat others. Look at that. How does a person treat animals? How do they treat someone who cannot defend themselves, right? When you have power over others, whether by title or by any other means that you have more means, and so you have reward power or your expert power, you're a teacher in a class, how do they treat those who are beneath them? It's very telling. And this is one of the things that, again, I never put myself in a position to say, follow me, because I don't think I'm really worthy then. I'm going to make mistakes. And I keep saying I'm just a guy. But if I had anything to offer, it is that I would say I know who to follow, right? And that is that I try to follow the example of Jesus. I'm just going to put that out there, because what he did was, having all the power in the universe available to him, he served others. Literally, did the grossest job you could do, which is to wash the feet of his disciples. That is service, right? And he said very clearly, I do this to show you, right? This is the way you ought to be. He said, they'll know that you are my followers because of how much you know, because of how much power you have. No, by the way that you love one another. And this is exactly what I see in love in this group, right? Is that the way you treat one another is beautiful to me. And I see people come around one another. When Dawn had a need for a phone, I mean, we got one literally in the shipping within like 3 hours. I mean, that's awesome. When Rose 777 needed a place to stay, we raised $777, right? Is what we donated to her within a week. I mean, this, and nobody I know in this community is wealthy, right? I mean, most of us are just doing our best as to try to pay the bills. It's beautiful. I got an email this week from someone who listens, and they just wanted to say, "Hey, I don't know what you're doing or what your traditions are or anything, but if you need a place to, you and your wife, a place to go for Thanksgiving, you're invited." And it was just so, I mean, it put me in tears immediately. It was just so beautiful. It was so just transparent. They didn't want anything out of it. They had, nothing to offer, but just, hey, you want to come, right? You need a place to be. And here's, if you need to run away, I know how that is. Like, here's some places you can, it was just fucking beautiful, man. This is, I think, the way to go, right? And, again, I don't want to call anybody out or just want to be so delicate here, because I'm not trying to take a swipe at people, but I had seen behavior that, this chest beating. Look at me. Look at what I've done in this community. That's like, okay. I mean, one of the things that I learned very early on, and I'm so grateful that I did, I was still in my teens. And, when you have when you're gifted with, the ability to learn quickly, right? Well, we would call intellect, I guess, but just the ability to learn quickly and have good recall and remember stuff. There is a temptation, of course, to somehow think that you're, better than others in your class or whatever, that, because you can do things that they can't. And this is, the same way with people get arrogant, like sports or whatever. You can do something that somebody else can't. And so it gives you the temptation is to become arrogant. But again, thankfully, when I was like 17, I encountered, doesn't matter how it happened, but a kid about my age who was sort of borderline Down syndrome, very severely mentally disabled, but, communicative. And but I got to say, I realized very quickly that this person had a capacity for uninterested and unconditional love that I would probably never have. And I just thought, how could I possibly think that I had more value to the world than someone who could do that? right? And I realize we are all on this sort of level playing field. We each have gifts and talents that we bring, but it doesn't make you any better than anyone else. It just gives you some other color, right? As I often put this into terms of the stained glass, right? And I love that that stained glass idea, right? Is that the light of the Creator shines through us, and it is those perturbations, right? Those inclusions, the colors that or we would consider stains and problems and things that are not perfect. It's those imperfections that instead, when put together, look at the beauty. And it wouldn't be what it is if we were all exactly the same, or if it was all perfectly clear, it would just be bright. But instead, it is these inclusions, and it is our flaws that make us beautiful. It is the beautifully broken that that I love. Those who are able to acknowledge and see that they are imperfect and not above others, but they acknowledge it and they reach out to others. Those who have sent me emails for the last couple of weeks when I asked if I could petition Dad on your behalf, and to see the things that resulted. Fucking beautiful, man. You guys are awesome. When I made coffee for you at the event, it's just free. I just came to bring it, and because I wanted to do something. This is how I love to serve others, and but what resulted is somebody said, "Oh, put up a tip jar," and I had no idea. I didn't realize until I got back to the hotel. I mean, it was full at one point. There's a bunch of ones in there, and I got back to the hotel, and I had no idea what you guys had done. Sorry, I'm making a mess. Keep this shit up. This is how you change the world. True humility is not found in calling yourself a worm, right? It is not denying that you have value. It is understanding that in comparison to the Creator, that you are very small indeed, but they love you enough to risk everything to save you. And it is gratitude that puts you in a different place. It wasn't until my wife and I became almost homeless about 5 years ago. We both lost our entire income within a period of about 6 weeks, and we were very naive about what would occur, and mistakes were made, and we almost became homeless. Like really, it was really tight, and we were kind of scared. But I got to tell you, I did not have the kind of compassion for the homeless, right? That I do now. When I drive to downtown Seattle and I go past where they're at under the bridge, it breaks my heart, right? Because I always considered that they probably they were there because they wanted to, or they had substance abuse problems and all that sort of stuff. And I've been in the music industry. I've had that my whole life, been around it. So I just thought, people, they put themselves, that's kind of what we're taught, right? People put themselves in that situation. They prefer that, whatever. And But now I understand, right? And I spent time with some of those people, and I find them generous and compassionate. You give them money, and they share it with others, right? They're not the kind of gross hoarders, Jeff Bezos, right? Guy who got billions of dollars, and what does he do? He hoards it and pays people shitty, right? And power over, and instead, those who have nothing, homeless, exhibit power under. They share with other people. And this is how I encourage people to walk, to appreciate those things that we have, and to share with others, to give of ourselves, and to support others, to take the strength that we have. See, again, true power isn't found by crushing others and dominating. It is having strength enough to do it, and the compassion and love not to support them. Right? To understand. See, one of the things that I learned in this walk, right, is the instructions of Jesus weren't keep rules. His commandments were love God with all your heart, all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And that implied that you needed to love yourself, which is a very difficult task to do, but to love others. It didn't say love everybody, right? I learned that too. I don't have to love, Donald Trump or Joe Biden. I don't interact with them. But to love the people around me, the people that I interact with. And some of those people are not very lovely. In fact, as it turns out, the difficult ones to love, right, and are just assholes. But as it turns out, again, the reason that they behave that way mostly is because they've never had love. And so they're starving for it. And what happens when you give love to those who are unlovely and you treat them in a way that they are not expecting, and you give to people who can in no way return the gift, it changes them. Not always. And people will always take advantage of you. It has been a struggle for me over time that many people wish to, confuse kindness for weakness. Those of you who met me, I think, learned pretty quickly just that my physical presence, my wife says I read cop, right? I can be imposing physically. I'm a big guy, very strong, and I carry myself in a way that is self-confident, but not an asshole, right? Because I'm not better than you are. And I'm willing to, share. And again, I'm not patting myself on the back here. I'm saying I've learned these difficult lessons because it is really hard. This is what I keep saying about the difference between rule keeping and doing what Jesus said, which is to love, is that's a much more difficult proposition. Loving the unlovely is really, really hard because it contradicts our sense of sort of self-preservation, right? And that we take it as a sign of disrespect. Right, that people will take advantage of you when you offer them your open hand, and they take that as a sign that you're naive or stupid, and they can just take from you. It's happened to me over and over again, and I have had many people close to me go, "Why do you do that? Why don't you just kick their ass? Why? I mean, you're smart. You could sue the pants off of them and take everything they have." Yeah, I could. I mean. Yes, but would it help, right? Just crushing them? What does it do to my soul? What does it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his own soul? I could have stayed in the corporate world and made I was making really good money. I mean, I make now about a fifth of what I made in my 30s. You know, when I was like 35. I mean, literally, so little comparatively. And it's not about that, right? Because the more I found that the more I made, the more you put in a position where you're required to sort of sell your soul. I'm sorry that it's that way. I mean, maybe there are better ways, but in the industry I worked in, that's kind of where it's at. I know I'm sort of rambling here. I got a little shook, but I think the point that I wanted to make today is to recognize the difference between power over and power under. And whatever source of strength you have, offer it freely to those around you, expecting nothing in return. It will feel very risky and as if you are going to be taken advantage of, because you will be taken advantage of without any question. That's just the way people are. But there is something so immensely freeing in being able to let go of material possessions, of time and attention for the benefit of others, that will change your life. And moreover, I think it will change the life of others around you. And I have often said that it is a difficult proposition to try and change the world, but you can change the world around you. I noted when I was putting this together, just a few slides today, right, that we have this great quote: humility born of the spirit and humiliation of the ego. And here we have humility as a safeguard against humiliation. See, I agree with that. If you set yourself up to be something greater than what you are, you take the risk, and ultimately we get, pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. You've probably heard that. What I find remarkable is, those who, for example, want to denigrate the scripture. And it's a book written by men to control others. Where'd you get that information? In a book written by men. And they'll also come back and then quote it as though it has authority. Does it have it or does it not? Again, I don't hold the scripture in the same value that most of those in Christianity do. That it's, oh my God, Jason, thank you, and thank you, Dad. I love you too, Jason. Our interactions have been beautiful, but this is this idea, right? Again, I just find scripture to be it's got an amazing amount of wisdom in it. You can join me for Ancient Wisdom for a Modern World, and I just read Proverbs on early Sunday morning. There's an amazing amount of wisdom in there, whether you're into Judeo-Christian theology or not. I mean, I'm not. But I do find it as an invitation to join into a relationship with the Creator. I think that is where it's at. But I find this interesting. So come back here, you see Proverbs 16:18. It's been there for a long time. But some people are so squirrely about Scripture that they're willing to attribute it to other people. Pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. Attributed to Joseph Addison. Interesting. Pride goes before a fall. Harsha Apala. Yeah, it's harsh. I find it fascinating. And I will take the same shots, perhaps more so, to those who call themselves Christians and spend their entire time telling other people how bad they are for not keeping the same rules that they do, that they are unable to keep themselves. I have said many times that the biggest obstacle to Christianity are Christians. I would just love to say, hey, stop it. But I don't think they're going to listen to me. And, again, not my business. You guys, whoever, you do your thing. But I'll tell you that's not how Dad is. Right. And so that's always my encouragement. If you want to know the truth, don't come to me. Go ask Dad. Ask Dad yourself, because he will answer you. Right. And it is. So yeah, I risk leaking again, because I will say again, it is the beautifully broken. It is the contrite spirit. It is the brokenhearted that he hears. Not those who make demands. Right? I find it, Liz, thank you. I find it remarkable that even in Christianity, the opening prayer is called the invocation. You're going to invoke God, like you're going to summon a spirit. Are you kidding? Right? You're going to make him do something. And those in prosperity Christianity who claim the promise and he's got to do it. Like you're going to manipulate God. Are you out of your fucking mind? Again, this is like, grow some dignity and respect for yourself. I mean, when you see yourself naked next to the Creator, you cannot harm another person, even despicable people, because you know that David, thank you. You know that you are in the same boat as they are. I mean, how can you harm another? You're all connected. We're all connected to one another. You can no more harm another person than you can take a hammer and hit your finger because it did something you didn't like. It's not helpful, right? So take care of others like you would take care of yourself. You guys are beautiful. And again, I will say it, beautifully broken. That is what I want to see, right? Is those who have the humility and the conviction to acknowledge that we are all broken. We're beat down. This world is shitty. But you're not. And the things that happen to you are not your fault. We are all responsible for much of the bad things that happen to us, but it's not your fault that you got put in the middle of this, right? But there is a way out. There's a better way. And that way is love. And love casts out fear. It's not from being afraid, and it's not from being hateful or mean or taking from others because you're afraid that you won't get yours. The only way that I know of is love. And the only source that I know of for that is your Creator. So, if you want to change the world around you. And if you want to do that, the way to do it is love. Love covers a multitude of sins. God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. Right? There's power. But that power is to support others. It's the strength to lift others up, not to push them down, not to take from them. Not to say, I won't give you the secret information unless you give me money. I won't say another word unless you give me money. Come on. Come on. All that I have is yours for free. Such as it's worth. I mean, if it's valuable to you, great, take it. Do with it what you want, right? I say, here's the nickel to do with it as you please. Spend it however you want. I don't care, right? It's because I'm not hoarding it, right, with value. Like it's got, value. I'm going to keep it from people who don't do or say the right things or treat me the right way. It's yours. If it's helpful, right? As long as it's helpful to you, eat the meat, throw away the bones, do with it as you will. it may not be the right time. It's like, again, but we are all in this together, right? We are here, that's for sure. And and so let us support and encourage one another and not beat each other down or argue about who believes, what thing, and oh, you're not big enough into, this thing or that thing, and oh, you dummy, you believe in the dome, and I mean, just let it go. What we have in common, right, is that we are all broken and beautiful. So remind yourself that you are beautiful. You are the perfect creation of a perfect creator. And so I had intended some other things this morning, but I think, again, I love this one. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be. Just be. You are a human being, not a human doing. So, that having been said, be good to one another. Be kind. Be gracious. Understand that other people hurt, right? Hurt people. And those are the ones that need it the most. They're the most, I don't want to say deserving, but they're the most needing of your love and compassion. So as best as you're able. And if you feel like you're unable to, just ask Dad, right? Give me more. Give me something to give. You'll get it. You'll get there. So, to that degree, again, I have no opprobrium or hostility toward even those who, again, I saw some behavior that caused me to speak on this morning. Because, again, we are all broken, just trying to find our way. But I think there's a better way, right? And I encourage you to find it. With that, thank you again so much for coming and joining me this morning. It's always a pleasure to be with you. I love to see my friends in the chat and how much you guys love one another. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So I suppose I'm preaching to the choir here in a way, but if I can encourage you to find it within yourself, to give freely to others, to give of yourself in a way that maybe even hurts or is uncomfortable, then again, I encourage that. If you don't know how to do it or how to approach it, again, I always encourage you, just ask Dad. And if you're not even sure how to do that, reach out to me. You can, my email's in the description, unintended.consequences3@gmail.com. I will ask Dad for you, and we'll take this journey together because we are in this together. Next week, I have an amazing guest for you. Mark Bloom will join me, and Mark is the author of a number of interesting thought pieces, including Transposition, which is Red Fox and I went through that, and wish Red the best. He's kind of taking a break and understand that, so hope to see you soon again. But Mark is a brilliant individual, and he has a great deal to share and some wonderful thoughts. So Seven Ravenwolf is definitely coming. I had to sneak it in to get Mark when I could. So we'll definitely. I'm not trying to put her off. A great conversation that we had, and again, it's just been one thing after another. But I want to make sure that I do it justice when we bring it in, and I know that all things will work out in the time that they're supposed to. So I trust in that, right? I trust Dad to make it all work out perfectly, and I think it will. I think it'll be super synchronous and right on time. So it will come when it's supposed to. I guarantee. And so. Again, thank you. So anyway, next week I'll be having Mark Bloom join me, so you definitely don't want to miss that. He's got some really interesting views on semiology and to using signs and symbols. So you definitely don't want to miss that. Join me again tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock Pacific time, for Ancient Wisdom for a Modern World. So we go through the book of Proverbs and try to gather some wisdom out of that. 5 p.m. tomorrow on the West Coast, and that's 8 p.m. Eastern time, is a point 5 episode, an intermediate episode of Sola Scriptura. We'll take another look at a variety of things. So we have that going for us, which is nice. If you have questions, comments, you want to chat, if you have requests that you want me to put before Dad and petition, I'm happy to do that as well. You can always reach out to me at unintended.consequences3@gmail.com. Happy to chat with you. I love hearing from you guys. And people always say, oh, no, it's a bother because you're busy. Yeah, I'm super busy, but it's not a bother. This is why I do this. So there you go. And I will leave you again with another tune from this Timeless Journey and Chat. It's Joe Ray and myself. I think this one was one of the later ones, so probably circa 1996, something like that. This is actually a recording I did as a rehearsal track. Many of these are. They're just not, none of these things were recorded for production or release. We would like to do that at some point. Joe and I wrote 100 plus songs together with our friend Jim, who is unfortunately left us way too soon. So we would like to get together at some point and put some of those things together. It's an interesting thing. Anyway, so this one is called Too Much, and I hope it's not too much, but we hope to see you again tomorrow. And thank you again, everybody, for being here. It's super touching. Thank you for those who contributed. I can't even tell you what it does to my heart that you find it of value, and that you come back here every week and for us to spend time together. So again, share it with your friends if you feel compelled to, if you feel like it's something that they could benefit from. Appreciate that as well. What I always ask for before we start, I just ask Dad to send the right people here, so that the right people hear the right message, and that he gets to hopefully speak through me to share these ideas. So with that, we'll see you again tomorrow. Love you guys. Have a great day. Solace is tempered with a burden of proof.
hunger of the soul.